My own true ghost story. It all began on a cold winter evening. I was traveling through a small village in the countryside of England. My job as a writer had taken me to many places, but this one seemed different. The village was quiet, almost too quiet, with old stone houses and narrow streets. I had heard strange stories about this area, but I didn't believe in ghosts. Until that night. I had booked a room at a local inn. The innkeeper, a kind but mysterious man, showed me to my room at the far end of the building. It was a cozy room, with a large fireplace and a small window that overlooked the dark woods. After unpacking, I sat by the fire, reading a book, when I suddenly heard a strange noise. At first, I thought it was the wind. The sound was soft, like someone whispering. But then, it grew louder. I stopped reading and listened carefully. It was coming from the hallway. Curious, I got up and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the whispering continued. It seemed to be coming from the floor above me. Feeling both scared and excited, I grabbed a candle and headed upstairs. The old wooden stairs creaked under my feet as I slowly made my way up. As I reached the top, the whispering stopped. The air felt cold, and I could see my breath in the candlelight. I walked down the narrow hallway, checking each room. Every door was locked, except for one at the very end. With a shaky hand, I pushed the door open. Inside was a small, dark room with a single chair in the middle. On the chair sat an old man, his back turned to me. His hair was white, and he wore a long black coat. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Excuse me," I said, trying to sound calm. "Can I help you?" The man didn't move. I stepped closer, my heart racing. When I reached out to tap his shoulder, the chair turned. But it was empty. There was no one there. I jumped back in shock. The chair spun slowly, as if someone invisible had just been sitting in it. Terrified, I ran downstairs and told the innkeeper what had happened. He looked at me with sad eyes and said, "You've met him, haven't you? That's the ghost of Mr. Thompson. He lived here many years ago, but he passed away in that very room. Every guest who stays here eventually sees him." I didn't know what to say. Was it a dream? Or had I really seen a ghost? That night, I barely slept. The image of the empty chair haunted me. The next morning, I packed my things and left the inn as quickly as I could. As I walked through the village, I couldn't help but look over my shoulder, half expecting to see Mr. Thompson following me. Since that night, I've never been the same. I still don't believe in ghosts, but I'll never forget what happened in that small, quiet village. And maybe, just maybe, there are things in this world that we can't explain.
The story of Scottit's ghost. In the heart of Finland's dense forests, nestled between rugged hills and quiet lakes, lay the old Scottit manor. The Scottit family, once prosperous landowners, had long lived in isolation, their wealth fading as the forest slowly reclaimed the land around them. Whispers of strange happenings had surrounded the family for generations, but nothing ever quite matched the terror that began one fateful autumn night. It all began when Lars Scottit, the last of his line, found himself at odds with his neighbour, a simple farmer named Vilho. The quarrel had begun over land rights, but as tempers flared, it turned into a bitter feud. Lars, a man known for his hot temper and sharp wit, threatened to take everything Vilho had. One evening, in a fit of rage, Lars challenged Vilho to a duel, a relic of an old tradition. Vilho, a proud man, but without Lars's wealth or connections, reluctantly accepted. The duel took place at dawn near the edge of the forest, with only the howling wind and the swaying pines as witnesses. As the first light crept over the horizon, the men raised their pistols. The shot rang out, echoing through the air. Vilho collapsed instantly, his life fading into the cold earth. Lars stood over him, his hand trembling as he realized what he had done. In the heat of the moment, he had never expected to kill the man. He had only wanted to prove a point. Consumed by guilt, Lars fled the scene, leaving Vilho's body to be discovered by his heartbroken wife and son. In the months that followed, Lars's life became unbearable. Though no one ever accused him of murder, duels were still considered honorable by some. The guilt gnawed at him day and night. Soon, strange occurrences began to plague the manor. At night, Lars would hear footsteps echoing through the halls, the creaking of floorboards as if someone unseen was pacing outside his door. Evening, as the first snow of winter dusted the ground, Lars awoke to the sound of knocking. It was a slow, deliberate knock, as if someone was tapping on the old wooden door to the manor. When he opened it, there was no one there, only the faint outline of footsteps in the snow leading away into the forest. That same night, he heard a voice whispering his name in the wind. Lars, Lars. The villagers, aware of the duel, began to gossip that Vilho's spirit had returned. They claimed that his ghost wandered the forest at night, seeking justice for his untimely death. The rumors grew wilder. Some said Vilho's wife had cursed Lars, while others insisted that the forest itself was angry, for blood had been spilled where peace had once reigned. The turning point came one stormy night when Lars, now half mad with fear and guilt, decided to confront the spirit. Armed with the same pistol that had taken Vilho's life, he ventured into the forest. The wind howled as the trees bent under the weight of the storm, but Lars pushed forward, determined to put an end to the haunting. In the forest, by the site of the duel, Lars found a figure standing in the clearing. It was Vilho, pale as death, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. His clothes were tattered, as if he had risen from the grave. Lars froze, his heart pounding, as Vilho's ghost spoke. "You took my life, Lars," the ghost said, his voice cold and hollow. "Now you will never know peace. This land is cursed, and your bloodline will end with you." Terrified, Lars raised the pistol, his hands shaking as he aimed at the spectre. But before he could fire, Vilho's ghost vanished into the mist, leaving Lars alone in the forest. He collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed with dread, realizing there was no way to undo what he had done. Scottit Manor fell into ruin. Lars was found dead by his servants a few weeks later, his face twisted in terror, clutching the very pistol he had used in the duel. The land around the manor was abandoned, and no one dared to live there again, fearing that the ghost of Vilho still wandered the woods, seeking retribution. And so the story of Scottit's ghost lived on, a chilling reminder that some debts could never be repaid, and some spirits never rested.